I think, I'd like to say how important it is that these people do run for office. Happens I've served in a number of appointed positions, but never ran for office. Well, I shouldn't say that. Once, actually, I was a presidential elector on the whole state ballot, but I've never chosen to run for local office. But I respect the people who do. There's great time commitments to it, and not a lot of thanks. Sometimes you get some thanks, but you get a lot of boos too, you know. And you get a lot of phone calls, and you get a lot of emails. You always have to be watching what you're saying. I did serve in the Finance Committee decades and decades ago, and was pretty active, and that resulted in death threats and stuff too. So I know what can be involved for people who, that was an appointed position, but they didn't like what I was trying to do. There was some bad things going on in the town at the time. So all I'm saying really is people run for these positions because most part they really feel they want to do something good. And we're not here tonight to hear all my views, but personally I think the country is in terrible trouble. Probably best not go on with that too long tonight because we're here for local politics. But it's one of the reasons I'm willing to do it. Solving our problems probably starts right at the local level. If we take care of our own town, do the right things, elect the right people, hold them accountable, get them to do what they should do, which oftentimes requires courage. It requires being willing to have disapproval from a lot of other people. But if you do it and you do it right, and I've always told people in my experience, if you can get up in the morning and look in the mirror and think that you did a good job, that's all you really need to do. If other people don't like it and you're convinced you did a good job, fine. If enough people don't think you did a good job, you won't get elected. You won't be there the next time. For me, that's the test. Anyway, thank you very much for coming. It shows that you have an interest too and are willing to come out when you could be watching whatever is on TV tonight. We're going to run through some of the offices that are not contested first because we know there's not going to be much said or anyone, perhaps in many cases no one's even here. And then we'll do the contested one, which is the town clerk's office and a board of selectmen's seat at the end of the evening. And we might take a 5-minute break between those ones that are not contested and the two contested. But it's like 5 minutes or something. You know, go out and get a drink, do whatever you got to do, and come back in and sit down, okay? All right. So I have an extensive page here of rules. The candidates are familiar with the rules. If anybody cares, I will read them, or I can just give you a synopsis. They're going to start with an opening statement. Now, we've had other past candidates' nights where they was very busy up here, and we couldn't allow them as much time as we'd like to. Tonight, they're going to have more time to be able to expound upon their thoughts and their ideas, and there's no reason for them to be rushed or anything. So they get 5 minutes they can speak if they want to in their opening remarks. Then we'll have some questions, and we have slips up here, blank slips, and I would pass them around. Chris, maybe you could just start some blank pieces passed down the rows. Please write down any questions you have and have them delivered up here. Typically, we have not allowed questions from the audience directly to the candidates. The reason for that is you know that someone's going to come purposely to humiliate someone unnecessarily or something. We're not here to humiliate people. We are here to hold them accountable for what they've done or to get from them what they would do if they get elected. But we're not here to make their lives uncomfortable and to make them humiliated because of something in the past, which may be disputed or something anyway. But by passing the questions up here in written form, this is Selectman Andy Burbine. He's an attorney, someone I respect highly for both his professional and his personal life. And he will aggregate them. So often in the past we've gotten several questions of the same type. And for the same candidate, he'll aggregate them into files that would be for the particular office so that they're not all just a mess for me to try and sort out. And, you know, if there's 3 questions that are similar, then we'll try to make one question out of the 3 that answers all 3 of them. That's what the attempt, anyway. So please do write down your questions, and it might be best if you wrote at the top what office it's for or pertains to, okay? And if you have any questions, raise your hand or something and let me know, and we'll straighten it out. Same thing with any candidates. We're not going to be that many. If they have a problem, we'll deal with it. But anyway, we then would ask questions, and if there was more than one, they would be both sitting up here or as many as there were. Sometimes we've had full rows. And the questions would rotate. So the first time, the first person would be asked, and the second time, the second person would be asked, but everybody would get a chance to answer the question. You just would start with a different person, so it doesn't always fall onto the shoulders of the same person all the time, that's all. And at the end, we will also have a closing statement, and they can take up to 5 minutes. My guess is no one's going to, but they can take, tonight, they'll have plenty of time to give as much ending comments as they want to make, which gives them a chance to expound on what they will do or would do, and maybe to correct something. If they said something they wish they hadn't said the way they said it during an answer, they would have a chance to maybe smooth that out, or, you know. We're all prone to saying something not worded exactly the way we intended. So, does anyone feel they need to have the rules read? They waive, they weren't going to do this tonight. So, we're going to start with the assessor's office, and there's one candidate, Michael T. Cunningham. Is he here? And there is just the one candidate, so it's not contested, and I gather he hasn't come. So if he does come, someone can tell me, and we'll give him a chance to speak. School committee, there apparently is just one seat up this election. Sometimes there's two, and it's for 3 years, and I can't believe it, but no one's running for school committee. Anybody here want to run, want to get written in? I'll tell other people if you do want to serve. Someone should serve. It's still an important board to serve on. They took some of their power away or something. I guess you can talk to Andy about what's happened in that regard, but it's still an important position for people to run for, right? So, okay. Now, the next one is, we're going to skip one just so that a person can get out of here. We're going to skip to the water commissioner, and we'll come back to the public health board. And there is a candidate, and he did deem himself fit to come here tonight, which we appreciate very much. He does have somewhere he really needs to go to, and was just skipping one anyway. So, this is Chris Aiello. Would you like to take a seat? Okay, you've got, you can take 5 minutes to say what you care to say.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you to Abington CAM, and thank you also to the Abington Republican Town Committee for once again hosting this event. My name is Chris Aiello, and I'm running unopposed for re-election to the Abington Water Board. I was appointed to the interim position last fall, and since then I've had the distinct pleasure of working with two tenured board members, Chip Muncy and John Warner. And my focus has been on efficiency and quality, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can as a board to make sure the water that comes out of your tap tastes good. I know there's a lot of room for improvement in that area, and I just want to continue. I want to continue working hard and making myself available just like I always have. And so I'm here tonight. I'm running unopposed, but I'm asking for your support. I do not take your support for granted. And I encourage everyone to get out and vote on April 27th. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Okay. Some issues just never seem to go away. And so it's probably not the first year that a question like this has been asked. But the question starts with, how would you rate the quality, in your opinion, of Abington's water? Maybe the fact that you're running for office says something in itself, but which seems to vary from day to day. I know enough that it comes from different sources. That's sort of part of that answer. But if the quality is not excellent, in your opinion, what do you think needs to be done to make the water for this town better?
Okay, it varies from day to day, but it also varies from place to place. We have different water sources in town. We have Sandy Bottom, we have Myers Ave. But we also have different parts of our distribution system that are different ages. The water that comes out of the source is pristine. It's good water. But by the time it gets to your tap, it runs through, in some part, depending on what part of town you live in, it runs in through some old pipes. And that affects the taste of the water. As board members, what we can do is make sure we're spending money on things that are going to improve the taste of your water, like new pipes. And you know, we've had other problems. You know, occasionally you'll get like an E. coli hit. You know, we call those hits when you test positive for E. coli. We had one last fall. There are, you know, a lot of that is animal related. You know, They have, occasionally a bird will get in a tank, and, human error. Sometimes people let their dogs run around and do their business near the reservoirs. So, whenever you have a surface water system and it rains, the rain washes everything into your water source. So, just try to be more diligent and make sure those human errors don't happen.
Along that line, if you don't mind, we got time for you. Is there a lot of salt in Abington's water?
There's none added.
I know it's not hiding.
To my knowledge, no. I mean, the water, we have ground sources and we have surface sources. I think depending on where you're getting your water from, you're more likely to get salt, probably from the surface source, probably from the reservoir.
Well, I don't want to badger about it, but I know that they were going to get a new filtration plant or something. I don't know what the status of that is. But I know about that because I went to a meeting with a bunch of neighbors one time, and I still heat a pot of water on the stove in the kitchen to produce air, moisture in the air because we have hot air. And that pan gets totally covered with minerals, all white, which I could show to you at any time,
Yeah, and that's
So-
probably not, it wouldn't be so if that water was taken at the source. A lot of that white that you're seeing left over in the pan is probably, they call it, they actually, when a pipe gets rusty, they call it tuberculated. And it's probably old pipes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Is there anyone else who wanted to pass a question up or wants something asked about? Okay. Do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to make?
I don't. I would like to thank everyone for coming, and I want to remind you that I don't take your support for granted, and please come out and vote on April 27th. And thank you, people at home, for tuning in and taking time out of your busy day to keep informed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Because of a couple of things that arose, we tweaked the rules in one regard for tonight and maybe for the future. And there is a lady who is running for the Board of Health. Is there any other candidate for the Board of Health here? Is Teresa Mays here? Anyway, I've been contacted by Donna M. Hoffman, Hoffman, who is a candidate for the Board of Health. Neither of these are opposed. There's 2 seats, so they're going to get elected. But it does show you the dedication of someone. So I've had a number of emails back and forth. And she's a nurse at Mass General Hospital. Got some nice credentials to it, Joni. And she's a registered nurse, and she's certified in rehabilitational medicine, too. But in any event, she's serving in her time. She has 4 days a week, she has a schedule of 11 to 11. It's 11 at night till 11 in the morning. But today, she was on all day as well as going to be on all night. So I told her she got a statement to me that I would let anyone read it, or I would read it myself. So if you'll indulge me, I will read to you what she would have said had she been here tonight. And it's possible in one other candidacy, which we'll talk about later, that there might or might not be another one. The email was addressed to me. Dear Mr. Tuttle, I would like to take this time to thank you for the opportunity to send my statement as a candidate for the Board of Health. As I have mentioned to you before, I am a registered nurse at Mass General Hospital, and I'm working on 4/9/13 and unable to attend the candidates forum. She has a number of abbreviations, so sometimes I have to think what the abbreviation stands for. I have lived in Abington since 1994. I own a condominium at Lincoln Village. My daughter attended the Abington Public Schools, and she graduated from Abington High School in 1999. I have several family members in town, and I've enjoyed living here very much. I have been a nurse since 1975, working in many different healthcare settings. I've had many opportunities to work with patients and their families on a variety of health-related topics, including teaching, quote, freedom from smoking classes, working with the American Lung Association in both elementary and the high school settings, to teach, quote, the myths of advertising, program and developed and taught, quote, the Living with COPD education series for the South Shore Hospital, and facilitated support groups such as the Better Breathers Club, the Fibromyalgia Support Group, and the Caregivers Support Group. I'm also a member of community-based and work-based committees, both in leadership and in membership capacity. In each of these capacities, I have had to be knowledgeable of the information being addressed and able to demonstrate objectivity while dealing with diverse groups of individuals. I've actively seek new learning experiences, utilizing knowledge gained to improve my assessment skills and problem-solving abilities. I have reviewed the mission statement of the Board of Health related to, quote, protecting, preserving, and promoting health and well-being of all residents of Abington. And I feel that as a nurse, I am committed to the health and well-being of her patients and their families. And my unique skills will blend well with the current board as they move forward to, quote, ensure the health and well-being of the public be maintained through the process of inspection, investigation, education, and enforcement. I would like to thank the residents of Abington for allowing me the opportunity to speak to them, and if elected to the Board of Health, I would do my best to serve the community. Donna Hoffman. I thought it was only right if she's helping patients and absolutely could not get out of it, we ought to bend the rules and adjust the rules to see that her words were spoken. So, we would now do the Park and Recreation Commissioner. You can vote for two, and there's only one running, so if someone cares to write their name in and get some other people to write it in on election day, you probably can get elected to that seat. I can assure you it doesn't have a big salary or anything, but it's 3 years and you're supposed to vote for two. There is a candidate by the name of Jonathan Mehall. And is he in the room? I guess not, so we will move on. The next one is the Sewer Commissioner, and you do vote for two on this, and there are two candidates. And they're both candidates for re-election. One is Michael P. Donovan, Sr., and the other is E. Thomas Rogers. Is either of the individuals in the room? And unfortunately, they're not. The next one is a trustee of Veterans Memorial, and you can vote for two, and again, there's only one running in this case, and one of them is David A. Peterson, Jr. Is he in the room? Okay. And again, somebody, I hope, writes their name in and takes the other seat. What's the minimum you have to have, Andy? 5? You have to have 5 write-ins on this? I think you have to get 5 people to win. So, trustee of the Public Library. In this case, you vote for 3, and there are 3 candidates, and they're all incumbents. William L. Adamczyk, Sr., Gerard F. Haas, and Laura J. Nuttall. Anybody in the room? Well, we're rolling right along. Planning Board. Vote for 1, and there is 1 candidate. His name is Bruce G. Hughes. Mr. Hughes in the room? Oh. Okay. We are now to the contested races. Does anyone need a break? Want to take that break that I mentioned, or are we all set to proceed? Keep rolling. Okay, thank you very much. We'll do the town clerks as the first contested race. There are 2 candidates, and I believe they're both in the room. Leanne M. Adams. She's currently the town clerk, having been appointed to that recently. And the second one is Krista F. Pampieri. See, I did it. Persampieri. So you'd be willing to come up to the table? You can. I saw him outside. I told him I'd do that. I could say it very easy outside. I knew I'd get in here. I have Italian daughter-in-laws, too. I'm very used to the Parisis and the Cassieris would be very upset if they heard me botch that up. But you said you're forgiving in advance, right?
Yes, yeah, my whole life. Tough name. Good Irish name.
All right. You're the challenger, so if you're prepared, you can take your time to give your opening statements.
Okay.
You've got 5 minutes and. do what you
Okay.
can.
First, I just apologize. I print things up once a year. Whoa, sorry. I print things up once a year, and my printer's not working, so I have this clunky old laptop from 1994, so apologize. My name is Chris Champierre, and I'm running for town clerk. I was born and raised in Abington to my father, Frank, who was a pipe fitter in the Quincy shipyards, and my mother, Mary, who was a secretary at South Shore Hospital. A few years after I was born, my father became a police officer in this town. Growing up, I attended the Abington Public Schools from kindergarten to graduating from Abington High School in 2001. My first job was in my neighborhood delivering newspapers, specifically the Enterprise, when I was 10 years old, until I got my first hourly job right down the street at Trukey's. Needless to say, my roots are deep within this community. I soon left to work at UPS in Brockton, and within a year I was promoted to a supervisor when I was 18. I attended Massasoit Community College in the day, and I worked at UPS at night. I later moved out to Quincy and then Watertown when I worked in an office in Waltham. I moved back to Abington at the end of 2009. I saw my old elementary school shut down, and the firefighter station on Brockton Ave was closed. While we were arguing amongst ourselves on the tax override and the shutting down of the center school, I was shocked to see that the town clerk, Linda Adams, accepted a $3,000 pay raise. To be clear, I have nothing against any worker making as much money as they can at their jobs. They put in the 40, 50, or 60 hours a week at their two jobs, and they deserve every penny they can get. But when it comes to elected representatives, whether it's in government or a union, it's different. If you're an elected representative, then you should be making what the people you represent make. Nothing more, nothing less. And taking a $3,000 pay raise in the middle of a crisis seems like a slap to the face of the people of this town. If you want to get rich, then public service should not be the way to do it. You do it to serve the community in your neighborhood. How are you going to have anything in common with the people you're representing when you almost make double what they make? If I am elected, I will take the average wage of an Abington worker and donate the rest of my salary, $22,000, to local charities and community groups that work on behalf of ordinary people. And I will post all of my monthly donations and contributions on my Facebook, on my campaign page, which you can find on Facebook, which is Christopher Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was so smooth, it sounded like I memorized it. Leanne, if you're ready, then you can give yours.
Good evening. My name is Leanne Adams, and I am running for the one-year unexpired term of town clerk. I have two daughters, Julia and Megan Kelly.
I'm sorry, I can't hear her.
This happens to me all the time. Okay.
The microphones are connected, are they?
Yeah, the green light is on.
Maybe pull it up a little bit.
My name is Leanne Adams, and I am running for the one-year unexpired term of town clerk. I have two daughters, Julia and Megan Kelly. And Julia is a freshman at Keene State College in New Hampshire, and Megan is a sophomore at Abington High School. I have lived in Abington for 19 years. I've worked in the clerk's office for just about 9 years. I have the experience and knowledge to continue serving the townspeople with the same efficiency and professionalism as the town clerks before me. I am pleased to say that I have trained with Linda for the past 8.5 years, and she was trained by Mrs. McKenna. These are two much respected women in our town. My daily duties may include many different things. Today, it was birth certificates, death certificates. I worked with a couple this morning to complete their marriage intentions. I answer questions about flood insurance. I had a phone call this morning about a neighbor who was very irritated because there was debris in his yard that another neighbor wouldn't tend to, and I had to direct his call. I have questions about the town dump that we don't have and how to redirect those calls. And I also keep current the board and committee postings that we have out in the front hallway. I swore in a new registrar this morning. I assisted several voters with their absentee ballot applications, and I mailed out several absentee ballots. So there's many different duties in the clerk's office. There's more, but I'm going to stop. I most recently coordinated a 30-plus training in a elections workshop for 30-plus workers, and I ran the town election. And right now, I'm currently organizing and planning the upcoming special and annual town meetings, as well as the senatorial primary, our town election, and the senatorial election. With many years' experience in the town clerk's office, I am able to assist customers and my fellow co-workers, quickly answering questions regarding the town's government by accessing E-code, Abington's general bylaws, the town charter, and the state's VRIS program. I am currently a member of the New England Municipal Town Clerks Group and the Tri-County Town Clerks Group. I have taken 14 classes towards my municipal certification. By taking these classes, I am continuously educated in our increasingly complex municipal government. This fall, I worked with the Abington High School students with Mr. Lanner's class. He has a class in politics and government, and I invited the students over, and they toured the office. They went over the election process with me, and they had the opportunity to test the ballots for the upcoming presidential election. I also organized and worked with the National Honor Society students to assist with the traffic flow over on Election Day with parking, and they were kind of like greeters for the voters. And I was also working with a senior student who was a peer leader, and she volunteered in our office, but her schedule got too busy with her college requirements, and so she's no longer there, but we miss her. And I would like to continue that with the students from the high school. It's important to me that the kids know that they're always welcomed in the office, and if they ever want to volunteer, it's very much appreciated. The town clerk's office, we're also a part of the Abington Senior Tax Rebate Program, and I've been very fortunate to have some wonderful women come in and volunteer. I have Sue, who's here tonight, who is, she is very helpful in calling residents and reminding them that their dogs need to be updated with their Abington dog tags. And I also have an assistant that comes in and helps with the town census, because that's also very busy right now. And so in closing, I would please ask for your vote on April 27th, and I feel very strongly with over 8 years' experience in the office that I am the right candidate for the position. Thank you.
Now, we do have some questions, and the questions will be asked to both, the same question. And I would remind people in the audience, if you write a question, which we're glad that you did, there's one that's really directed to one person alone, and in the context that it's given to me, it's not proper for this purpose. We'll see if we can work it into how we do things, but questions should be for both to answer, not just one. Okay. And we'll start with one person, and the next time the other person will be the first one to answer. We'll go back and forth, so you're not stuck with being the first all the time or something, okay? So, when we just first get to know you a little bit, this question has to do with have you served on a board or a town committee, or have you been employed here or anyone else in a municipal capacity? So, Leanne, you want to take the first one? Start.
I have not served on any of the boards. I'm currently on the Board of Registrars, but that was it. And no other committees. No, go ahead.
I'm also not on any committees either. I'm new to politics in this town, but I have worked in local community organizations, one of which was fighting against the MBTA cuts that were going on. The commuter rail service is now cut from the weekends. I was involved with getting involved in that campaign and doing outreach in Quincy, mostly because that was where the red line was. But things about, that was more grassroots organization. But as far as an elected committee, no, I have no experience. Yeah.
Okay. Then you be the first one on the second question. Okay? All right. Maybe it's hard for you to answer whereas you're running for it, but the question would like to know, deep in your heart, if you can remove yourself from this particular race that you're in, but do you believe that this position should be elected or appointed? They say appointed, I assume they mean by the Board of Selectmen.
I absolutely support that. All positions within the town should be elected positions. This is a democratic society. And if you were, I mean, that's the idea of the basis of what we do, is that people are going to be held accountable to the people. If people are not happy with the way things are being run, then what is your recourse to recall the people who are not doing a good job or not fit to do the job anymore? So the right to be elected and the right to be recalled, I think, are two very important things to be had in this government.
Okay.
That is a very tough one. I would have to say elected, because it should be up to the townspeople who's running the office.
I'm sorry. The next question asks is a fact wrong in it, which we'll have to fix. If you are elected, what would your priorities be during the first year? And the right of the question sort of assumed it was a 3-year term. The fact is, it's only a 1-year term. But they still is worth an answer to the question, what would you do in your first office, first year in office, elected to it? And I believe we start with Leanne.
In my first year, I would be basically doing all the same duties that I'm doing now. Right out of the gate, there's, like I said earlier, there's several elections that are coming up, the town election, the senatorial primary, and the senatorial election, and the town meeting, the special town meeting. In the fall, there will be the fall town meeting. Over the summer, it's a really good opportunity to clean up a lot of the files and to reorganize. And again, in the fall, I would like to work with some more kids from Abington High School.
The question did have kind of a follow-up part to it too, okay? Thought I'd break it in half. They want to know, do you have in mind some changes that you would want to make?
Do you want me to answer that one
Yeah.
first? Not a lot of changes, because I feel that the way the office has been run for the past several years is very smooth. We've had no issues, no problems, and if it's not broke, you know.
Okay. Chris, you can kind of answer the two questions a little bit separately too, if you choose to.
Sure.
Okay? You remember what the question is, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
You know, the way I feel it is that, I'm sorry, can you repeat it one more time? I'm then thinking of the second part
Would
first.
you like the question?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, okay. First part has to do with what would be your priorities during that first year. The writer thought you had 3 years to
Okay.
work on it.
All right. Well, obviously, the first part of the job is, if I do get elected with your support on the 27th, I have 1 week until I do assume office. But what I will be doing is I will be learning all the duties and necessary things that have to happen in order to become, a certified town clerk. The association that was brought up, the Massachusetts Association for Public Office Holders, that they meet up. They just had a meeting in Worcester. I tried to attend that meeting so I could come into office already knowing something about how the process works and everything. And the Town Clerks Association it had a lot of good things on how to integrate new people, new systems, how to get things out there. And I wanted to attend that, but I was told since I'm not elected and I'm only a candidate, I cannot attend this. So I wanted to walk on day one knowing exactly, at least knowing the basics of what needs to get done. As far as the second part of what do I plan on doing for the rest of that year and what needs to get changed is that, with taking the average wage of an Abington worker, I plan on, meeting with people in local charities. There are many good organizations in this town that need funding. That's what I want to work towards, and I want to hear from you. Now, this isn't my ideas, it's what you want. This is your money. I want to hear what you'd like to think this money should go towards. So hopefully, we can have that conversation if I get your support on the 27th.
You're satisfied you answered the second
Yes.
part, all you want to say? Okay, thank you very much. We'd start with you this time, right, Chris?
Sure.
Okay. This questioner wants to know, do you think there's any customer relations problems in the clerk's office that does need to be remedied?
I've only been to the clerk's office twice. I had a very pleasant experience when I did go. I've heard nothing negative about the office whatsoever. The only other time I've been there, I think I was getting my birth certificate when I was trying to get a passport when I was younger, but that's about the only experience I've had with it. But I've heard nothing negative about the office.
Yeah,
Please, can you repeat that?
sure. The questioner is asking, do you think there are any existing customer relations problems in the clerk's office that need to be remedied?
No, I don't. I do often find that if a customer can't make it to the office by 4:30 when we close, if they need a birth certificate or, you know, something timely, I stay. No, I just told everybody, but yes, I would stay. I would stay. Because I do understand that, you know, 8:30 to 4:30 can be difficult for people.
Okay. All set on that question?
Um,
Anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, there's one thing. If it was possible to change one thing in the office, I think the hours are very, no one gets out of work at 4:30, generally speaking, Monday through Friday, and most people have, the town clerk's not open on the weekend. So if you want to get a birth certificate, you have to take time off of work to get in there. And on Fridays, the office shuts down at noon. That's 32 hours a week the office is open. So I think expanding the hours to 40 hours, like everyone else has to work 40 hours, I think that should change. So I think a 40-hour work week with an office that's open later during the week, I think, for people to leave work and come and get a birth certificate or whatever they need, or their dog license that we had to get. I think that would be very helpful for the office.
Help me. Who went first last time? You went first last time?
I did.
Deanne, you all set?
Yes.
Okay. This question wants to know, what do you think is the single most, I guess you could mention more than one, but what's the single most important issue that you'll face during the next year regarding this office?
I don't know if it's an issue, but the upcoming elections are very important. But I would-
Sorry?
The upcoming elections,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them an issue, but I feel that they are the most important thing that will happen in the office.
Okay. Do you understand the question? Or
Yes.
read it?
I mean, this is a non-political position. This is the town record keeper, historian, person you go to get necessary documents. So as far as issues that are coming up, that would probably be water commissioner, selectmen who have issues to deal with like that. But as far as the town clerk, I'd say I don't think there's any issues.
Okay. What do you think that was really gonna ask? I'm getting about to the end on this, but I think this does raise something in my mind now, if the audience will allow me a little bit of latitude, because these have not been my questions, but, and I'm saying partly because we have at least one selectman in the room. And maybe some more. There's not a lot of staff people in the office. Not a lot of, the staff is rather small. And being an attorney, as is my associate, Mr. Burbine, and probably a lot of citizens are pretty familiar with how many duties they do have. I'm saying this for the benefit of both of you, because one of you is going to serve there. And there's a lot of duties that they have time requirements where they have to do things by a certain date and by a certain time. And there isn't any, I didn't get to it, or I was too busy, or anything. They simply have to get done. A la couple of elections we're coming up. I think there's 2 elections within 3 or 4 days. And they have a lot of requirements that go with that in terms of people being qualified to vote and what they got to do afterwards and so forth. So I guess I'm really just trying to make it easy for whomever is the winner. But I know it's very thinly staffed at the office. And I have volunteered my time. I've never, ever been paid by any government for anything. I have volunteered my time when it was just absolutely, I'm on the board of registrar of voters, just so you know, an unpaid position. And the town clerks, recent ones anyway, have had a need for help and had confidence in me that, because there needs to be a great deal of confidentiality with records and so forth. So I'm only speaking on behalf of this office, which will affect whoever the winner is, not in favor of one or the other. But the staff requirements need to be looked at by someone, and they need to be adequately staffed so that they can do the job. And that would affect either one of us, no matter which one gets to serve. So I hope no one took that, either one of us take that as being detrimental to you, because that wasn't what was intended. That's really just trying to help you out. So I will give you both. I think you'd start first on that, if you don't want to address that, and then if you want to address it, feel free to do so.
Yeah, as far as, what was the staffing issues, I think if the work is over, too much for, the office as it is, then I think there is a proper channels to go about going ahead, trying to hire more staff, more people to get on to help out with any work, because this is very important things. People need certificates, birth certificates. If they're gonna sign the kids up for Little League, you're gonna need a birth certificate, and your time is very precious. But also, I do want to make sure that the people who are working do know what they're doing and are qualified to do it. So, so if any issues comes up, I would hopefully be able to talk directly to the Board of Selectmen or whoever it is so we can, because I know there's I can't just hire people randomly, so there has to be a process to it, so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's challenging working by yourself, but I don't mind doing it, and if you need to stay, you stay a little extra to be sure that everything is taken care of. I would hope to be able to hire somebody if the budget allows, and I believe that it will. By July, I should be able to hire somebody, or either one of us would be able to hire somebody. And as far as whatever the hours are, that would be up to the selectmen and to the budget. We wouldn't be determining that.
Okay. I think you did the opening statement first, right?
Yes.
So we'll let you go second in this case.
Okay.
Leanne would like to give you a closing statement?
Okay, and while we were sitting here talking about different points, I just wanted to be sure that everybody knew that the hours of the town clerk's office are not set by us. They are set by the Board of Selectmen and the town manager's office. And I do understand, like I said, that if, people are working and they need a little, help, if I could stay, or, and so that everybody knows, birth certificates, if you're unable to get them in our office, you can get them in the town of the hospital, so you do have another option. And as far as dog registrations, anything like that, a lot of things can be done by mail. And when I do receive them in the office, they go right out the same day, birth, death, marriage, any of those requests. So this is a closing statement, and I would just like to say that, again, I feel very confident that I will be able to continue to provide the same level of service to all of you. And I have over 8 years' experience, and I enjoy my job very much, and I think that that helps a lot. I feel that it's a very pleasant window to come to. We always try to, Mrs. Adams and I used to always try to solve any problems, issues, and be sure that everybody leaves happy. Not a problem. So I would please ask for your vote on April 27th. Thank you.
I apologize.
It's all right. The goal of politics isn't winning or power. It's about improving people's lives. That's why I wanted to get involved with local government, because I know the most effective way to enact immediate change is by getting involved with our community. And I most importantly want to hear from you. If there are any local groups and charities you know of in this town, please come talk to me after outside. I'd love to talk to you for as long as you'd like about it. But here, locally, we can get so much done. What turned away a town dump when I was young in Abington, it was a local recall election. What got new windows for the Woodsdale School? A ballot question. On April 27th, you have a real choice. Does the town clerk position stay as it is, or do we start something new here? With this money freed up, it gives every single person in this community, young and old, to get involved and help improve this town. If students at the high school want new sports equipment, if parents need materials to help clean up the Beaver Brook playground, or as I read in the Abington Mariner recently, that the Abington Summer Concert Series needs funding, that's where the funds will go. This is your money, not mine. I want to work for you, and on April 27th, you can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you both did a great job.
Thank you.
The next one is the Selectman's office. there is one seat. There are two candidates. There is one incumbent. The first listed on the ballot is Michael W. Franey. The second one listed on the ballot is Robert L. Toomey, Jr. The gentleman in the room? Is Mr. Toomey in the room? Not sure exactly what to say on this situation. Regretfully, we don't have two candidates tonight. And I did get a communication from Mr. Toomey. And there was an ambivalence to it that's left me a little bit hanging, but on the one hand, he said he could not make it because he had to work, and I'm sure that's absolutely the case. However, he did allow he could be here at 8:30, and I told him that I would hold this off until 8:30 to permit that to be possible. But he did not think that would work for him. And so we had some discussion, which was all very nice, and I did change the rules. That's how I happened to end up reading the statement, the written statement by Toomey, the nurse, Hoffman, the nurse, was because I did change the rules. That came up afterwards, but I figured if I was going to change the rules for Mr. Toomey, that I should also change them for everyone else. So in fact, I did change the rules, and if anybody wanted to see the copy of the rules, they rewrote them for that very purpose, so we could allow more flexibility in terms of people do have to work and they have responsibilities. And I know he does have two positions. He's a fingerprint expert, and I believe he works for one of the departments of the state that deals with protecting children and so forth. So I have no question he has some important things to do. But we left it that he was going to send me an email which would include a statement that I would read, which would have been similar to like what Ms. Hoffman did. But I did not receive it. And I took that maybe meaning that he was going to be able to make it, or that, you know, even if he was going to be a little bit late or something. But I have not heard from him in terms of whether he will be here, and I did not receive an email with the attachment to it that I would read to you at this time if I did receive it. So I did bring my cell phone, and my wife was to call me, to tell me if it did come in after I left, and she was to bring it down here if she received it, and I have got a message to that effect. So apparently it has not arrived by email to my home, my office, and I don't have it to work with. So we will proceed with the candidate that we have, and if Mr. Toomey does arrive, we will give him an adequate time to present his statements and his questions and his answers, and just as if he would. I understand that he worked, and I understand it was no doubt difficult to get here. I just wish that he had sent me the email so I could have read it or let me know what was going to happen. But otherwise than that, we're all just fine. So if you are now ready, would you give your opening statement?
I'd be happy to. First off, thank you, Bill, for having us here tonight in Abington, Cam, and especially thanks for you people to come. I've gone through this exercise on a number of occasions, and this is the most amount of people that I've seen at any one of these candidates' forums. And it speaks well for you people to put the time and effort to come out and support whichever candidate you do. And I think that's a tribute to you people. But and the other thing I'd say, it's very difficult and awkward for me to talk about myself. I'm not in a level of thing, but I have to do this. So my name is Michael Franey. I am running for the re-election to the Abington Board of Selectmen. I was educated in Abington schools. I graduated from Abington High School. I attended Massasoit Community College and Bridgewater State College. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I served in the United States Army. I'm a life member of the Abington VFW and a member of the Abington American Legion. I'm married to my wife of 40 years, Barbara Bailey Franey, and our children, Kevin, Mark, Brian, and Kim, and they all attended Abington High School. and 5 wonderful grandchildren. And on the town involvement, I've been a member of the Board of Directors for the Abington Citizen Scholarship. I served as a coach of Little League for over 20 years, and I always coached by the premise that I never coach a kid that I couldn't ruin, and it seemed to work for me. I was very involved in youth soccer. Made a lot of good, strong memories down there. I was involved and instrumental in building the concession stand. I served on the Board of Directors there, and I coached in youth soccer for over 20 years. I served on the Greenway Boosters, and I've also taught CCD. On the town government side, I've served on the Abington School Committee. I was a member for 9 years. 6 of those years I was chairman. Yeah, I was town moderator for 5 years. And as the town moderator, it came time for the charter review committee. The selectmen, asked me to appoint the committee, which I did as moderator. And I have to tell you that I was very fortunate. I appointed by far and away what I thought was the best committee I've ever been involved with. And we reviewed, it was Patty Van Tyne, Kathy Creighton, Andy Burbine, Leo Sheehan, and Eddie Cochran. And these people who I told were only going to be 3 or 4 meetings, 40 meetings later, we had met with every department in the town, everybody that wanted input into it. We had open public hearings, we were on TV, and they basically rewrote the charter. I chaired that thing. I was not a voting member. And the work that they did was enormous. And in doing the charter, they had proposed certain changes. And one of them is our form of government that we have right now with the strong town manager. They had a special town meeting, and it was overwhelmingly passed. I think it was like 194 to 8. And then it went to ballot and was passed. But again, I can't say enough good about that particular committee. And sorry about rambling on. But I was a member of the Abington Tricentennial Committee, and I'm a present member of the Board of Selectmen, and I sit on the school feasibility study, which is an issue that's going to be faced in our town. And, again, as a group of individuals, that's open to the public. It's our town, and if you want to get involved with it, the meetings are posted and come and see what's going on. As far as on the Board of Selectmen, I would just like to say, in my involvement in the 3 years I've been on the board, we negotiated health insurance reforms with the unions that saved the town a lot of money. Trying to be fair to both the town and the unions was very difficult, but I think we reached that. We improved cooperation and communication with the school department. We established a website, which before I ran for selectman, we had what we call the Citizens Task Force. And it was a group of individuals who just kind of put together, and it started off with like 10 and went to 20. And one meeting we had was over 100 individuals that showed up, mostly young parents. At the time, there was a lot of cuts going on in the school. And one of the things that came out of that was the fact that the website that we had in the town, it's a very good way of sharing information, and was really non-existent to that degree. So I'm pretty proud that we pursued that. It's got some, I would like to see some improvement to it right now. I think we have a way to go. But there's a lot of information that we can now put on the website that isn't just given to the member of the school committee or a member of the Board of Selectmen. It's given to everybody because it is our town. We increased transparency in town budgeting, in employee contracts. If you go on the website now, you can see employee contracts. You do know what's written there. You can see exactly what's going on, because again, it's no secret. It's all public documents, and you're able to go on there and see what goes on in the thing. We improved the board policies in dealing with and granting licenses and appointments to other town boards. We developed a publication of a town governmental volunteer handbook. Again, that was something that I haven't sat on the Tricentennial Committee. It seemed like there was a lot of questions. It was a very well-meaning, educated, well-meaning board. But some of the policies, you don't know about the open meeting law. You don't know about what the chairman's supposed to do, the vice chairman, the minutes are supposed to be kept. So we did work on this committee handbook, and it's intended to help, not to hurt, and to foster more volunteerism, if hopefully. We worked to reopen the Rockland Fire Station, which is very important to the people on that end of town. We regionalized the fire and medical dispatch with the town of Holbrook. That saved the town money. The fire seems to be working quite well. We increased funds for the town's stabilization account from $1,000. That was very important to to our town. It increased our bond rating. We were able to borrow money better. The stabilization fund basically is like a bank account to us. And I think the rule is we're supposed to have something like $3 million in there. We were running on bare bones. We were in extreme hardship if anything ever happened to this town, because we had no money in the bank. So the town manager in the Board of Selectmen supporting the town manager, we've increased that from $1,000 to $1 million. So now I think it's supposed to be around 3, so we have a little bit more to go. But that I think is one of with Mr. D'Agostino, actually, your credit going mostly to him, is a big feather in the town cap. It's just, really nice to be able to see that going down. And we're responsible for the proposition, for town budgets without a Proposition 2.5 override, which I think is kind of important to all of us. So at that, I just want to tell you that I've been very proud of my service to the town and as a member of the Board of Selectmen, and I'd simply like to continue. So with that,
I have 6 questions for you.
I'm sure you do.
Well, there's a little joke to that. We won't go into it too much.
No, we won't.
About 3 decades ago, or some
Yeah.
very long period of time, I asked this very same gentleman when he was running for office in Abington a question which was, you'd have to take it in the context of the times. We're not going to discuss it, so you're not going to go home knowing what it is, but because it would be me have a whole different context to it today. But it was a very tough question for him, and it was intended to be a tough question. But being quick of mind at that time, he had an answer that dealt with it very quickly, got the whole crowd laughing, and we all went home happy. So you can discuss that with him some other night, not tonight. But none of the questions will be as tough as that one. So. This first question is in a budget context, having to do with budgets. Question I want to know in terms of, can you define, or what's your opinion of it, the different roles that are involved? Being a Board of Selectmen, town manager, finance committee. I don't know if we have it. We used to have a finance board, a separate board too, that was conglomeration of all the people meeting together. You want to cover that subject? And it's regarding budget is what they're getting at.
Sure.
Is that, are we doing it right? Is there a better way to do this? Are we getting the results that we desire out of this?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Bill. Obviously, very honestly, since my involvement in town government, I've never had the pleasure of having extra money to deal with. It's always been damage control from when I was on the school committee right forward. It always seems like when I was a kid, when I was in high school, the buses used to come and pick up the band, and they picked up the cheerleaders, and they even picked up the patrons that wanted to go. And then one by one, that got cut back to the point where now, it started off at $25 user's fee. I think it's up around $200, and very honestly, it's something that I don't mind saying this publicly. I think as a society, we should take a good hard look at what we charge some of these kids who can't come up with the money because they're usually coming from a structure that isn't there in the home. And they need the structure in high school and stuff like that to be able to, it helps them dramatically to be able to be involved in these sports. And yet, they oftentimes can't come up with the money. So the point is, and I'm sorry for rambling, but the point is that, the different issues is the town manager establishes the budget. He has a financial team. They work with revenues coming in and revenues expended. It's very difficult for the town to do that because it's all projections. It's all, we think we have this coming in an excise tax, we have this. And for instance, this year was a terrible burden with our snow plowing account. Those are all funds that, we generally don't spend over $500,000, which we did this year. So he establishes a budget. He presents it to the Board of Selectmen, what we call a balanced budget. We either go with it or not, but the key to the whole thing, and the one that I think is really important, is the Finance Committee, because they are your eyes and ears. They're your representatives between the government, so to speak, the administration, Board of Selectmen, in you. They spend an enormous amount of time. They do a great job. They talk with every department head. They go over the whole thing. And they are the ones that will make, when you go to town meeting, the recommendation. They are the ones at the bottom of the book. They'll have a warrant article for, say, a new ambulance or something like that. And the Finance Committee is the one that will actually say pro or con, we agree with it or not, and then it's up to town meeting to either vote it up or vote it down. But they often, far more often than not, they rely totally on the Finance Committee and they listen to them. I think that the system works good. Again, it's hard because we always seem to be not enough money to, you know, we need more police, we need more teachers, we need more firemen. And, but given what we have and the system that we have, yes, I think it works fine. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
I think so. Hopefully it's somewhat educational in terms of, it's very complex, it's big business. The budget's like, I don't know how much, 38 million, give or take, for a year? Is that in the range, or?
Yeah, I think
What it is
it's up, I think it's like 41 or 42, something like that.
The second question really deals with 2.5 overrides. Maybe you need to explain to someone, younger voter, someone who doesn't remember the big battle about the 2.5 override law that came into existence. And what is your general mindset in terms of whether or not you agree to have one or not have one?
Well, no, I don't support an operational override for Proposition 2.5. I've often based, just like we do in our own homes, our ability to pay, it should be based on our ability to pay. And we have to look at what we're doing in contracts and different, how we manage our money is very important. Proposition 2.5 allows for a 2.5% increase over your levy limit, kind of a fixed number of all the taxes you have in the town. So you can increase that by 2.5% and add in new growth, which sometimes is, if you get like a Lowe's or something like that that came in, they generate a lot of taxes. It could be $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 more. So above and beyond the 2.5%, and that's what the town is able to, you know, to spend. We can't spend any more than that. And we also, just for your information, we rely on the state to, what they call local aid figures. Years ago, it used to be that they, in my memory, they always increased that. If they gave you $1.5 million one year, say it would always be 1.7 the next year, whatever. And in the recent past, that has all gone backwards. They give us less and less and less every year. And at the same time, and again, I'm getting off track a little bit, but they put these mandates in place for us, especially in education, 766 and things like that, that it just costs the town a lot of money. And yet, we don't have any recourse to it. It's the law, we have to follow it. And the unfunded liabilities and mandates coming to this town is what has really hurt us. But no, to answer your question, Bill, I would not support an operational override for Proposition 2.5.
Okay. But I don't mean to add to it, but I'm trying to just kind of help some people who might not understand what you mean by that. I bet there's someone here who doesn't know exactly what he means by operational. But might there be some extreme situation where something had to be built or fixed or something,
Well,
where that would
yeah,
be
okay.
something that you would ever support?
You're talking, you're talking about a debt exclusion, more or less. So you're talking about something. When we're gonna be faced with, like for instance, capping the dump, we're gonna have to make a decision on how we want to pay for that. So what they'll do is they'll take that capping of the dump and they'll put it in a ballot question. And they'll say, okay, you're gonna spend $2.1 million. Do you want to cap the dump? We have to, we mandated. How do you want to do it? If you don't do it like that, you're gonna take it out of operational or services. You're gonna get rid of a lot of cops, a lot of firemen, a lot of teachers. The town has chosen to support those types of overrides. The towns, we did it for new roofs, we did it for the police station, the senior center. The difference between that is, you pay that debt off, it goes away, it comes off your tax bill. You pay so many, like just like your mortgage, you pay so much every year off on that, like say it's $1 million, you pay a portion of it every year. Say you pay $200,000 for 5 years, you'd have it paid off, then it comes off your taxes. With the straight 2.5% override, that's always gonna be on your taxes, no matter what it is. And it just, you know, they'll say, okay, we need another $1 million or another $2 million. And again, just because I feel a certain way, I certainly respect all of yours opinion. It is the type of town that we want to have. It's our Abington. So you know, if people want to go that route, that's fine. But the difference between a straight Proposition 2.5 override for services would be, it would always stay on your thing. It would always be, you'd always increase it. And without the debt exclusion for some of the things we have, they will go away. Like our sewer bonds are going away. This year, I think we lost, we paid off probably, I think it was close to $1.5 million, something like that, that hopefully we'll see our taxes go down. It would be a nice little Christmas gift. But I'm not going to guarantee anything. I hope I explained that right.
Yeah, I hope that's helpful to someone who might not know what he may have meant by operational as opposed to that. I have a question here. I don't know who wrote it, and I think it's a great question. And I'm going to introduce it a little bit if I can take the liberty to see where I'm coming from before I ask the question. I see the other day the city of Stockton, California, has gone bankrupt. The city of Detroit now has had one man appointed by the governor who runs everything for the city of Detroit. They cannot pay their bills. And there are lots more. Meredith Whitney is a lady investment advisor who made some statements, maybe a little bit ahead of time. She predicted about a year or two ago that there would be massive cities and towns and states failing. She wasn't quite right. It hasn't happened yet. But that's what we have ahead of us. The state of Rhode Island, right on our border, is teeter-tottering on bankruptcy. And many, many cities are. A number of states are. It has to do with the question, that's the reason I'm taking a little liberty, is they have employment contracts, and there's no way they can honor them. And they've promised big pensions and jobs and all the contracts. Like the city of Detroit, that individual is going to have an authority to just disregard, void all of those. So a lot of lives are going to be really, in the future, affected by this. So the question for you is, what should be the role of the Board of Selectmen in the town negotiating employment contracts? And I assume it means for various departments.
Right now, under our present form of government, we went to prior to the charter, the Board of Selectmen had all the authority to do that. And with our new charter, we took the politics out of it and gave the authority to the town manager to negotiate the contracts. However, the Board of Selectmen has to sign off for it. So there is checks and balances there, and it should be. Very honestly, there has to be that, because you just, in my experience, it was a good thing it was there. So the town manager can negotiate the contracts, similar to what we used to do when I was on the school committee. The school committee would sit as a board and would give a negotiating team parameters of, well, this is where you should settle at, this is where we're going to support. And if you could go out and negotiate that contract within those parameters and come back, the board would accept it. If you didn't, you ran the risk, or you could come back and say, listen, I couldn't do any better, but they would not have to, reject that. So negotiations is very, very difficult. You're talking about people's livelihoods, and it's been extremely difficult for me because they're my neighbors sometimes sitting on the other side of the table. And you want to be fair to them, and you have to be fair to them. But by the same token, on the school committee, you had to worry about the education of the kids. On this side of the table, you have to worry about the overall health of the town. We have a lot of issues as a town that, unfunded liabilities in health insurance, believe it or not, to retirees. It's a wonderful benefit, but it's extremely difficult for the town to pay for it. I don't think anybody ever really anticipated the large increases that we've all seen in healthcare. And, in my opinion, they can say whatever they want about reducing the cost, but I've seen so many of my friends with their shoulders and knees and hips, and it's wonderful things that we have available to us now, but it all costs money. And in doing so, the health insurances, the premiums have gone up. Well, with retirees in the town, when they retire, we pay their health insurance, 50% of their health insurance until they pass on, and then we pay their spouses. So it's a wonderful benefit, but I think the burden, correct me if I'm wrong, was over $40 million that we have an unfunded liability going towards that particular thing. Now, don't get excited over that, because that's over a series of years, but it's still something that we are going to have to pay for. So we have to watch what we're doing. And I will tell you something, it's not all the union's fault, it's not anybody, it's just it's a societal thing, it's just, you know, we demand a lot in healthcare. And, I hope that answered your question. You really got me rambling today, Bill, I don't know.
Well, thank you. I think it actually addressed what I was talking about when he said unfunded liabilities. That's what I was talking about. I didn't use the term, but it's for another night. But be glad to talk to you on a separate occasion about Social Security or something, and that's the problem, is that unfunded. The money's not there. Anyway, the next question, I don't know who wrote it, but it's a good question, I think. And I think it doesn't say it, but it comes from the same kind of thought that I have. The Board of Selectmen has always been thought historically as being the town fathers. They used to be called that. And the question is, are you in favor of building a new middle school or high school? And you're not on the Board of School Board, but I think the questioner is right, as one of the town fathers. What's your general thinking on this?
Well, no, let me just say this. The idea of the feasibility study, and I'll go back to when we had the charter, I firmly believe if we give the people of this town the proper information, then they'll make the right decision. The feasibility study is not to build a certain school, it might be to add on, so it's to look at what we have, it's to look at what our needs are, and then make that decision. But that is going to be a very, very open process. It's a good committee, there's a lot of talent on that committee, there's architects, there's principals from other towns, and they're doing their very best, and the state is right in there working with us. They are requiring us to look at the educational needs and the building needs of the town, so they're gonna marry them together. I don't know where it's going yet. I don't know which school it is. There's a lot of rumors out there. I hope we can get away from that, because that's not what this feasibility study is doing. This feasibility study is going to look at what is the best bang for our dollar going forward. And where the state's partnering up with us, they're gonna want to ensure that also. So we got a ways to go before we actually make a decision on, what we're going to do. And it will be a town decision. And I will respect anything that anybody makes, but the only thing I'd ask, and we're going to be able to do, is that everybody be given the information to make an intelligent decision. And then we'll have to go from there. But I certainly would not want to comment right now whether, I will say that I work in a lot of different schools in the area. In the cafeteria, I do refrigeration, commercial refrigeration. In our schools, there's no doubt about it, are the oldest. They're clean, they're well kept, but just like anything else, we should be looking at some improvements, possibly joining them together. I don't know. Maybe they'll just decide, maybe the people decide to leave it like it is. But we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Stay tuned.
The next question seems to be very timely. It deals with the town manager form of government, local government. And the writer is interested in your opinion in terms of how it's working. Is it the best way for a town to be managed? And it doesn't address the fact that we're having a change, but maybe you want to touch on that as well.
Yeah, the first town, when we did this charter review committee and we put it forth to the town, there was a lot of questions. And I was of the opinion that we probably would have to go through 2 or 3 town managers before we actually got used to what was going on. The first town manager, was Mr. Warren, wasn't as available as I thought he might have should have been, and probably wasn't out in the public eye. Mr. D'Agostino was absolutely out there. He did a lot of good things. I think it was a tough decision for the board. We made on Mr. D'Agostino, and I will say this, that if you were to take a list of things that he's done well and good and has benefited the town, and the things that he might not have been so successful on, it's a huge list that he's done well. The rubbish and different things like that. So, we are in the process of trying to negotiate a contract with the town manager. I don't know if that's with the new town manager. I do think it was the way to go before the complexities of our government has gotten enormous, and they were basically being run by a board of selectmen that however well-intended, it's just the legal aspects of different things that are coming on. You really needed somebody that had the authority to make the daily decisions. And I think it's worked. I mean, I can just look at what we've done here now with just the stabilization fund, and the fact that somebody is advising us and goading us in that direction, that, listen, you've got to have more money behind you before you make some of these decisions. And yeah, I think it's the right way to go. Absolutely. And I know there's probably some people that don't agree with that, but from my experience and what I've seen, to go back to a part-time, well-meaning Board of Selectmen and try to do some of those things, I just think it would be a step in the wrong direction. However, we can do that if things don't work out for us. So.
Okay, the last question I have in my hand anyway, is that there's a myriad of issues that come before a Board of Selectmen in the course of a year, or course of a term. But if you had to pick one that was going to be the thing that you most wanted to work on as an objective as a selectman, what would that particular one be?
Good question, Bill. I'd love to be able to say love to be able to find ways to generate more income for our town and get more of a tax base and industry and stuff. It's kind of geographically landlocked, and the sewer capacity hurts us. It would be great to be able to do that. I guess probably, we have the dump coming before us. I don't know if you people are aware of that, but we're going to have to be mandated from the Department of Environmental Protection to cap the dump up there, and they're going to give us, they're right now in a process of doing monitoring to the wells and to see what we have to do. That could cost us $2 million, and then of course the school. I don't know. That's a tough question, Bill. I guess I'd have to just leave it as if we could find any way of generating, more income.
More income, yeah.
Yes.
Is that like the $500 million tax bill that's being passed in the legislature? No.
No comment.
We'll talk about that later.
That's not my problem.
That's just a little joke. That's just a little joke. Okay. Do you need a drink of water or anything at
No.
this point?
Why, do I look like I do?
No? Well, we're coming to the point where you can give a closing statement, so if you want to catch your breath.
I'm fine.
Is there anybody else who wants to pass up a question, I think, before we, I'm just giving him a chance to catch his breath because he's got to give his closing statement. So any other questions anybody wanted me
One
to
little
ask?
question here. Is there any way we have big Walmart in Abington? There's no way that we could generate a little more money from them and Target and our businesses? When I was a kid, we had no businesses, and now we have all these businesses. And can we get some money out of them?
They pay a very fair amount of taxes based on the property value of the building. I don't know. I know, and Joe Shea was a member of the board, but I believe that Walmart has like a legal team that challenges the taxes. They appeal it every year. And they're not easy to, I don't want to use the word take advantage of. They're looking over you. They have the money to make sure that you're there and stuff. Those buildings have helped us tremendously as far as our tax base goes. And if we were able to, some of the towns, like look at an Avon or something like that, if you notice, they're all built on like Route 24 or Route 93 or something like that. It's all where your development is right next door to it. That's all where your business centers are and everything, because people aren't going to come down Route 18 to come to Abington. So in my opinion, it kind of hurts us. We're more like a bedroom community. We want to, and that's not a bad thing either. But it just, it's one of those things where everybody says, oh, we would like to have more industry, we would, but the thing that probably hurts us more than anything also is our sewer capacity. We don't have the capacity in Brockton. We're right up to, whatever, I think it was 1 million gallons a day in with Rockland. So it is a difficult thing. I would tell you though, and it's a nice discussion we had here tonight, that I would hope that coming out of this that people would become more involved, because collectively sometimes those ideas would and could come out and, you know, maybe serve on some boards and different committees where we could try to establish more, better tax revenue for the town. You know, it's not my town, it's our town, and I've often a big fan of, especially with younger people, trying to get them involved. You see Chris and Leanne, and that's kind of nice to see, and, you know, because their ideas are, you know, quite a bit different than mine or ours, and I just think that would help a lot. And Abington is a very, I want to use the word kind and caring community. I think as much as we fight with each other, sometimes when the chips are down and somebody, it doesn't matter. You know, we do all come together, and I think as a community that speaks well of us. So, you know, again, I don't know. You got me rambling something awful. I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to say, I don't believe I said that.
Well, I'm going to say one more sentence that just get you addressed, and you can give your closing statement.
All right.
As my brother counsel here had some interesting cases over the years, and I used to think Abington had such atrocious town government, and how it conducted itself. But after having some cases involve some other local towns, I came to think we have some pretty good people in office and have over the years, and we're actually, it can be better, but it's a much better run of town than several towns around us. It would be in the books somebody could look up. I had a case that went to the state Supreme Court that involved the town of Hanson. It was enlightening to see how that town operated. Like I say, I had a much greater appreciation for how well we are trying to do in this town by having had a case against some of the town governments. So, anyway, with that, you can now give your closing statement.
I really didn't prepare a closing statement. Again, I apologize for rambling. I probably got myself in trouble, but I'd just like to say that my wife and I have had a privilege of to raise our children in the town of Abington. And my involvement in our community has taught me some very valuable lessons. And I'm proud of my service to the town, and I'm equally proud of my service to the Board of Selectmen, as I am my service to my country. And I would ask you for your vote for my training for Selectmen on Saturday, April 27th. Thank you.
We had some great camera work tonight, and hopefully some people are going to be able to see this on cable. And could Chris Prowl come out and introduce himself and take a bow? He's done some great work on this. It was a pleasure for me to meet him tonight. It happens I haven't seen him for a long time, but I was very close friends with his grandfather. I have a lot of closing remarks that I could make or whatever, but you know, they really would be going over why you need to be here. And I tell you, this is a great audience, maybe the best one I've ever seen with these nights. You folks don't need any lecture about why you should be here. I think the only thing that's needed is us getting the message out to a lot of other people that they need to be involved. And when there's things wrong, they need to work on getting them changed or fixed. And when people do good, they should be praised too, so that they are motivated to keep doing the right thing. So you don't need any lecture from me. I'm not going to ring the bell down here in closing for at least another minute, so if anybody has some general comments or something, I'll introduce a few questions. I'm going to make sure we're here till at least 8:30, so no one could say they didn't have an opportunity to be here by 8:30 and present themselves and have to say what they wanted to say. So, anybody got anything they want to close with for just a short comment or a question? Or?
Announce the election day and time.
Yeah, April 27th, and it's 8 to 6, 8 in the morning till 6 at night.
Abington High School.
At the Abington High School, and then the state primary is what, the following Tuesday?
Yes.
Is that right? Is that the 30th? Okay, 30th, at the same place? Okay, what's the date for that?
Special town meeting is Monday, September 22nd. Monday, April 22nd.
22nd? Okay, so that comes before the two elections, okay? And then it would go till June, maybe?
June 10th.
June 10th. The town meeting, the annual town meeting has been postponed. You might have got something in the mail today, or something came out, yeah, but they had changed it. Well, it being 8:30, I thank you for your rapt attention and your assistance in running this. I hope you enjoyed yourself and learned something. We'll see you next year.